Welcome to the official Tennis.com podcast featuring professional coach and community leader, Kamau Murray.
Welcome to the Tennis.com podcast. I'm your host, Kamau Murray, and we are here with the new number one doubles player in the world, the pride of Texas A&M Aggies, Austin Krajicek. Austin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you for having me.
So I remember spending 2 or 3 weeks together in the Greenbrier.
Oh, yeah.
We were, in West Virginia, eating the same pizza every day, the same court. And first struck me is that, this guy's lefty. And that almost exclusively means you got to play the do side. But it doesn't true, because I've seen you play the ad side and have two backhands up the middle. And like, what are they doing? I'm like, maybe they know something I don't know. You know what I mean? So I want to know, are you a natural lefty? Because I'm actually left-handed, but I play right-handed.
Sure. Yeah. I actually have a little bit of a weird situation there. So I am mostly naturally lefty. I eat lefty, right lefty, but I do a couple strange things. I golf righty, which isn't that weird because a lot of players do that with their backhand, and then bat righty. But I play basketball righty, and I throw small balls. So if I throw a baseball or if I pick up a tennis ball and throw it, I throw it right-handed. But if I throw a football, I throw it left-handed. That's obviously a bit weird. So I'm pretty ambidextrous, but for the most part, left-handed.
Yeah, so I eat left-handed, I write left-handed, I play tennis right-handed, shoot a basketball right-handed, bat right-handed, everything else. I remember my first tennis experiences. I came to the court at 7 years old, and I was so bad that and a lot of kids don't know if they're right-handed or left-handed, right?
Right.
So the guy says, "All right, you
Try
can't
the other one.
You can't be left-handed, and you can't be that bad. So let's try it with your right hand." And that is how I started playing tennis right-handed. And I swear, if I was left-handed, I'd have been 30% better.
100%.
And I probably would have I probably would have actually maybe been a 30% better tennis player. Could have made some money, but who knows? Maybe not. Still some, right?
You still be playing?
Huh?
You still be playing on the tour?
Still be playing, right? Yeah, exactly. I never played on tour, but maybe I would have at least been able to play at 25 or something. So you recently won. So you grew up in Florida. Recently won the French Open. But before we get to the French Open, I want to go back to Tampa, right?
Sure.
Did you train at Bollettieri, IMG? I mean, Tampa, South Florida is like a hotbed for tennis, right? But it also can be confusing. I often find that, I was talking to Jimmy Arias about this, when you are a big fish in a small pond, your path is very clear. Everyone pours into you. There's only one or two good coaches anyway, so you're kind of more organized. When you're in Florida, California, there's so many options, and you see kids switch coaches, switch academies, move here, move there, and it kind of actually sabotages their career. But it didn't.
Sure.
So how was your junior career navigating the very confusing Florida scene?
Right. Yeah, you're right. Florida has just a ton of good players, ton of good academies, coaches. I was very fortunate from a young age to have a good base. I started with Steve Smith when I was younger and had a good foundation of technique. And I think from there was able to work, luckily, with a private coach, Omar Lemina, kind of through the Palmer Academy when they transitioned around a little bit. And so I had a good base of training from then until I was about 14 and started having a little bit of success in some junior tournaments in Florida and just at the state level. And then from there, I got a little opportunity to go to IMG at Nick Bollettieri's academy. And luckily, I had a very good, foundation there. So going to Bollettieri's was great for me at the time because it was match play every day, competition, so many different kinds of players, so many good players. So you had really no choice but to get better and push yourself, or you get left behind. So it was a very, very competitive environment. And with the upbringing I had, it was great for me. Very a unique situation. I mean, we're playing tennis literally from 6:30. We're in the gym, and it's all day until 7 p.m. With practice and fitness. And so it takes a unique person, I think, for that to work for. Luckily, I love the game, and it worked out that I had a good group of people around me and support staff. So It was great. I improved really quickly, and also traveled with the USTA a little bit there for some junior tournaments and the junior Grand Slams and ITFs and stuff. So I had a good balance of shifting from not just IMG, but also with a lot of great USTA coaches and juniors that obviously you get to know very well over the years traveling together. And so yeah, I kind of jumped around there with those two, and then ended up going to college ultimately after that.
So was Nicky on the court? Did he bring out the
Yeah,
flashlight? Did he
he
see you
did.
stand behind you and make you feel like you're gonna be number one in the world and make you finish your racket with the flashlight pointing at the coach? Give me a good
Oh
Nick
yeah.
Bollettieri story.
Yeah, I mean, Nick was awesome. I mean, he's always been so nice to me, to my mom and dad, and made us feel special. I think that was one of his amazing traits. He'd be out at least once or twice a week. We'd be on the court with Nick, for 30 minutes or an hour, and he always had that approach where he'd tell you a couple things, and if you hit a couple good shots in a row, he'd be like, "That's it, that's it. We fixed it. We found the answer." And so he'd give you belief for a couple of days that you found it until you had a bad set or so, and then you had to reset. But yeah, he's such a positive guy and an incredible speaker. I mean, really, we had some talks with him that he'd get you fired up to run through a wall, and there's not many people in my life that I've met that have that impact on everybody when they meet them the first time.
Oh yeah. I think that was his goal. His goal was like
Yep.
every time I would talk to him, he says, when I meet somebody, I want it to be it could be the only time I want to be the most memorable experience possible.
That's
When
right.
they leave me, they're gonna remember this day, that kind of thing. So he was
That's
definitely
right.
a motivator and really an innovator in this sport. So, obviously when you think about tennis schools, coming out, you played all the junior slams, you probably had a lot of options. How did you choose Texas A&M? And what was the second option?
Yeah. Well, growing up in Florida, I've always been a massive Gators fan, University of Florida, which means I can't stand Florida State naturally. But so I've always been a huge Gators fan growing up. That was a dream of mine when I was younger to play there. I had all the football stuff. My whole room was Gators. So yeah, I was looking at several different schools, and the University of Florida was obviously one of them. And and then that ended up being my second choice. But Coach Denton and Coach McKinley at A&M, spent a lot of time coming to visit and watch the matches, and convinced me to come take a visit out there, which I had heard of Texas A&M, but I really didn't know much about it except I'd played one ITF tournament there, a year and a half or so before that, and to be honest, couldn't stand it. It was windy, and I was like, oh man, I hate these courts, and so that's the only experience I had there. So they convinced me to come take a visit there, and immediately fell in love with the campus, with the team, with the family spirit. I mean, I'm sure you maybe know, but their traditions there are just so strong. They've got so many little things they do, and they really make you feel like a family right away. So love the team, and specifically the coaches. I think are the ultimate reason that I ended up picking Texas A&M. Steve and Bob both had done everything that I wanted to do on tennis court. Steve had won a Grand Slam. He was number 2 in the world. He made 2 finals, singles Grand Slams in Australia. Bob was top 50. He played on center court Wimbledon. Anything that I wanted to do on the court, they had done it. And at the time, there wasn't coaching, obviously, in pro tennis, like there is a little trial now. So you never really had someone on the court with you during matches. So for me, I thought that'd be a cool experience to be on the court, to kind of see through their eyes as you're out there during dual matches and during crucial moments and big tournaments. To have them out there with you was a pretty cool thing to experience, and that was ultimately the reason why I picked Texas A&M.
Mm. And then you later went on to live in Texas, right?
Yeah.
So it's like for a guy that went there and hated the courts, ends up going to school there, could live in Florida, could live in Cali, tons of other
Right.
options where there's like good sort of professional training set up. How did you end up back in Texas?
Yes, also I mean, from College Station compared to Tampa, very, very different places to say the least. But I always joke here that as soon as I went to A&M, I felt like an adopted Texan almost immediately. I grew up in Florida where most of us was around tennis and stuff my childhood, so I didn't hunt or fish or do that whole thing. And coming to school in Texas, was resistant to country music at the initial arrival, but it's kind of great. You hear a song or two, it grows on you a little bit. You play it in the car, and then next thing you know, I really enjoyed it. And one of my roommates, who's still my best friend to this day, Austin Krajicek, we were on the team together, and we lived together, and he's from a small town pretty close to College Station. That we went over there and fished a little bit, and went hunting a few times, and just something I'd never done before, and really fell in love with that and being in nature, and kind of getting off the grid. Obviously, we travel so much in tennis. It's so hectic and you're in big cities and stuff. It's really cool for me to kind of be in the woods and just kind of be out alone and have the quiet. So I enjoyed that. And then I just really fell in love with the people too. People are so friendly. In Texas, it's almost like nothing else. I always joke in Florida, or actually I lived in LA for a little bit after school, training at the USTA Center in Carson. And when you wave to someone in California or Florida, they always give you that, what do you want? Look.
Right.
In Texas, they wave back, and it's kind of a unique place where you can trust your neighbor a little bit. And it's really, I love the Southern hospitality feel, and it's really grown on me a lot. And I feel like I'm at home in Texas.
So you go to Texas A&M and you win a doubles NCAA title, not a singles NCAA title. Mm-hmm. That doesn't always lend itself to, I'm going to go turn pro, right? You see players who win NCAAs and singles that don't turn pro and don't pan out. Like Ethan Quinn now, right? Freshman,
sure,
just won singles. He probably will have a pretty decent pro career. But winning doubles title, it still could be a gamble. It's like, do I try it? So what was your thought process in leaving school, trying hand at a tour? Because you got to 94 in the world as a singles player, right? So who looked at you and said, you can make it, right? Did IMG give you a check? Sometimes IMG makes you feel like you can make it, or like an agency will come and be like, yo, we'll give you an advance of X amount of dollars. And that's a good indication, like, oh, well, I probably can make it. Otherwise, they wouldn't be giving me the money. What made you think that you can make it? Or did you just say, I'm just going to give it a try. I can always go back and get a job.
Sure. Yeah. Well, yeah, I definitely didn't get that check to make me believe it. But, I think as a young kid, it was always my goal to play professional tennis and be on the tour. So I always had that kind of belief that, or at least that's what I wanted to do. And I thought, at a young age that I could. I had, a few points before I went to school and maybe send me to future. And so I thought I could, make a run at it at least. And it was always a goal of mine to play. It wasn't really like an option, like I wouldn't give it a shot. So, when I decided to go to school and not turn pro initially, like I mentioned, Coach Denton and McKinley having all the experience they had on the pro tour, that's one of the main reasons I went there, was to be able to transition my skill set from juniors to college to pro. And so it was always a goal of mine to play after. So, playing throughout school, we always play pro tournaments in the summer, and had a little bit of success there, winning some matches and futures and challengers. And so after, I knew I was going to go pro. So I played all 4 seasons, all 4 years of my eligibility at Texas A&M, and then turned pro. And, like expected, obviously going from a university like Texas A&M that has insane facilities, an unbelievable support staff, you've got a full team around you. It's a little bit unrealistic transitioning into the Futures Tour from that scene. So that's always a wake-up call, but I knew what to expect, obviously playing futures before school and stuff. But it's a couple years of a grind. You just got to put your head down, and I traveled to all kinds of places to play these tournaments and try to move up the rankings, and had success in singles. And then in that era, I actually was back in Florida a little bit at Saddlebrook and IMG after college, and then moved out to California to work at Carson with Stephen Armitage. And to be honest, on the tour, Stephen was one of the first coaches that surely sat me down and said, I believe in you, dude. I think you can do it. I know you can be top 100. And, that really stuck with me, because it was one of the first coaches that really got through to me to say that you can do it. You got to work. Things are gonna have to go your way. You're gonna have to work hard, but you can do it. And, from there, we worked really hard, played a smart schedule. Stephen is an unbelievable coach. He had me doing some different things I hadn't done in college, and it clicked a little bit. And then I had some good results. Quartered a couple 250s and qualified in Miami, had a good Acapulco, and then and I qualified and quartered in a 500 in Tokyo, and that's when I got to the top 100 for the first time. And it was a pretty cool moment and an experience for me. Obviously, I had more success, a little bit in doubles throughout college, obviously winning NCAAs in doubles and not in singles. So it was pretty cool to be able to make that breakthrough in singles first and experience that side of things. It was awesome.
So you get to 94 in the world.
Yep.
And then at what point did you say, I'm just going to play doubles? Was it like a match? Because sometimes, you get guys who they'll play tour, they might get a little old, mobility kind of challenges, right, or an injury, and they say, all right, I'm just going to play half the court, right? And I'll play doubles.
Right.
Me and Zach always joke about half court tennis, right? You know what I mean?
Sure.
So,
Yeah.
or sometimes you get your clock cleaned and you're like, I'm just going to focus on doubles. But at 94 in the world, you're getting into all the slam, right? You're like right outside of the Premier Fives. What made you say, I'm going to focus on doubles?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a journey there. I had some weird injuries, an ankle thing, and probably a bad racket switch at the time. And so my ranking slipped just a bit, where I was kind of in the range of 250 to 300, which as you know is just outside of Grand Slam qualies for singles. And you kind of have to make a decision at that time. I think I was still hanging around 60 or so in doubles, and I was playing doubles at the time, and I kind of always knew my skill set was probably tailored a little bit more towards doubles. Like I like to come forward. Left-handed, I serve and volley. So it's a little bit more tailored for doubles, and I've had a little bit better results in doubles throughout college and stuff. So that was always an option, in the back of my head. And I think at that point I had to kind of decide whether I was going to drop back and play some more challengers and futures again and try to make that grind upwards. In some of those crazy places and so forth, and obviously not making a lot of money, or I could try to play doubles. And I kind of came to the conclusion that, I could, in singles, if everything went well and I was playing great again, got some good draws, all these things go your way. And then maybe I can go back to the top 100 again or make a push a little higher. But I thought that I could make an impact in doubles where, hey, I think I can be, have a chance at some of these Grand Slams and have a chance at these bigger tournaments and make a push towards top 10. And I had some other goals then that maybe I can make an impact there in doubles. And that led to me, I stuck out singles a little bit longer actually after that. And then kind of didn't enjoy it anymore on the single side of things, started really not having as much fun on the court and not enjoying being out there. And I think from that point I said, okay, if I want to keep playing, it's going to be in doubles. And I had a few strange results that summer, and then tennis, Sandgren and I made quarters of US Open that year in doubles. And I decided, okay, I found the love there for that. And I really feel like I want to focus on that side of it.
Really cool. So then you're 60 in the world in doubles, right? And at that point, who was your dream partner? Because the doubles gets a little bit tricky when you do the combined rankings, right?
Sure. Yeah.
So you got to kind of choose a partner based on, okay, who can I get in with, right? Whose ranking can I kind of like piggyback off of to sort of jumpstart this career, right? So you might play with some people you really don't want to play with, right? Because the rankings are kind of aligned. And then the whole time you're like working your way up to, damn, I wish I could play with Bob and Mike Bryan. You know what I mean? Like, who was your dream?
Well, yeah, I mean, you said it. Yeah, I mean, Bob and Mike have been a huge, idols for me for the longest time. I've known them forever. I've been practice partner at Davis Cup 3 times. When the Bryans were on the team, and rented from Mike in Tampa for a while. And so, I'm pretty close with them. Practice with them at all the slams and stuff. So obviously, they would be. I would pretty good definition of a dream partner. But what made them another reason they were so successful is there was no chance that they were going to split up. So that was never really an option for me. But like you said, doubles does add another drama element to it. You got to play with someone else, and a lot of times you're spending more time with that person than your significant other. So you got to get along with them. On the court, off the court. Anyone can get along when you're winning, but when you're struggling and losing and having some of those tough stretches, that's what really makes a difference of the teams that stick together and do well. But at the beginning, you're really just trying to play the ranking game, get in these tournaments, and give yourself an opportunity to beat some of these top teams, because you can't beat them if you can't play them. And a lot of times doubles is a bit of a tricky ranking system because it's top heavy. So if you can't get in these tournaments, how are you going to move up? You really can't make that jump. So, you have to kind of play the game there for a little bit. And I was jumping around. I mean, luckily I have, a lot of good, from playing so long, I had a lot of good friends. Tennis is one of my best friends on tour. And, he was doing extremely well in singles, and it worked out. We could play some of those Grand Slams tournaments together. And then, Stevie Johnson's also one of my great friends. And we had a couple good tournaments together as well in 2021. And so, yeah, you're trying to find, guys that you can get in tournaments with, and guys that you think kind of mesh well with your style of game. And sometimes that comes, second fiddle to getting in, but
Right.
it's just one of those things where you got to play the game a little bit in doubles. It's tough.
So speaking of playing the game, we host a lot of tournaments here in Chicago. How often did you pull the trick of me and my partner going to share a room? We'll use his 3 guaranteed nights in the hotel on the front end, and I'll use my 3. I mean, for all those that are listening, right? Let's say a doubles team, you get 3 guaranteed nights in the hotel, right? Win or lose. And sometimes the players will say, "Oh, well, we're going to use her 3 nights on the front end if we lose, my 3 nights on the back end because we got a little more time when we go to the next tournament." And then the tournament promoter, you're like, "Damn, I got to keep having this hotel room, even though they're out to draw." How often did you pull that trick?
And I wish I could have pulled that trick because back in the day, we didn't get hotel rooms at the tournament. We had to, especially in challengers in the States, luckily for us, we had housing was very popular at the time. So we get help from a lot of these families at tournaments, which was amazing for us to be able to stay in a home and have a home cooked meal and stuff. But yeah, we didn't get to pull that trick very often, unfortunately. It still makes it tough because a lot of times, you only get 2 rooms or 2 nights guaranteed at a tournament if you get there Saturday and play Monday. So, it makes it difficult for us. I mean, the expenses obviously are high at all these in all these cities that we play now. So, that's part of it. I mean, I know a lot of sports have a lot of the expenses covered, but that's what makes kind of one of the things that makes tennis interesting and difficult is, if you're winning, your hotel's covered, but as soon as you lose, it's not. And then all of the flights, all of the expenses, everything, coaching, everything is on your dime. So, it's an extremely tough sport to make a living. And yeah, it's a long road to say the least there.
So let me ask you this, because your road just became historic, right? But before we go there, tell me the thought process when you see double specialists play singles players. So like,
Mhm.
Let's just say like, a Rublev play with Ivachka or, Fognini play with anybody else. And you got like, okay, individually, those guys can beat both of us, right? And on a different level. But together we can still beat them because they don't play doubles. They don't practice this. They don't focus on return so much in practice. They don't cross. They don't do this. What is the logic? Because as the common fan is looking at Krajicek and Dodig and they're going to play whatever, Rublev and whoever, right? And then the bettors start coming in. They're like, well, we're going to bet on Rublev and whoever else. You know what I mean? But they don't know it's like a different kind of art. So what's the thought process when you play 2
for us,
players?
it is different. I mean, completely different. But like you said, I think doubles is a very different mindset in practice. It's a lot more specific. We do work on specific situations a lot more. So we're in that every day. I mean, we're hitting these tough first volleys, these tough movements, and guys hitting big returns. So I mean, it's not necessarily. I mean, the level it's a different skill set. I would say more so. So these guys play a different way. They might, hit the ball better and play better baseline games and stuff like that and singles points. But the doubles tactics and stuff, I think it does make it more difficult for singles guys to hit, returns through the middle or across where they usually have a lot of space to play, where we can kind of get in their face a little bit and make it just a little bit more uncomfortable and different. So yeah, I mean, of course, those guys are just extremely talented and makes it difficult to play for us. But we try to take care of our side of the court, and if we serve well and execute our patterns the right way, a lot of times we can put them in situations where they're more uncomfortable and they're not used to hitting the volleys straight off returns. So like we can change our patterns a little bit to try to play our strengths more than theirs. And it's not that it's easier or harder to play the singles guys. It's just a bit different, and your tactics change just a little for sure.
So how do you choose partners? I mean, like now, right? So now obviously it's different. You're number one in the world now. You play with several partners. And sometimes we see doubles players have a decent year together and all of a sudden switch.
Right.
Is it like, yeah, I'm kind of tired of sharing a room with this guy, right? Or I'm kind of like, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
we
no,
had
definitely.
decent results. I think I can play. Or we're just like, I just want to keep it fresh. Tell me the logic, because we see so much movement.
Right.
And look, semis here, semis here, semis here. That's still a good result for a year. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean, only.
Well, there's a lot of things. Yeah, a lot of things you said there. I mean, one, what makes tennis, another aspect that makes tennis unique is unless you're, the Bryans or Roger Federer or Novak or Carlos Alcaraz now, who wins a good bit of the tournaments they play. Most people, 99.9% of players, you pretty much lose every week. And if you have an unbelievable year, you might have 2 weeks where you don't lose, you win the tournament. But for the most part, you have to deal with losing almost every week. So it's strange in the aspect that you can have, like for us, for example, last year at French Open, the best week of your career by miles. And then, you're on such a high going into the finals and everything's great. And then 2.5 hours later, you're completely devastated. And, you lose obviously a tough match, but it's, complete, just a really a tough feeling. And that you have to deal with every single week. So you have to deal with losing a lot in all in singles and doubles. But as far as picking a partner, I mean, I would say, ideally, you want to have the same guy all the time because you get to know each other better. And that's a goal from the time that you're, ranked 500, not necessarily just once you get to the top 10 or whatever it may be. But like I said, you do spend a lot of time with these people. So, you're with them all the time. I mean, more than your wife or whatever it is. And that can get difficult at times. And when you're losing every week, except for a couple, you do have to deal with those losses and the way you prepare for practice, the way you prepare for matches, the way you move on from those losses and transition surfaces. And, just little things from the kind of restaurants you like to eat to the way that you like to structure your training weeks, and off time. And if you like to get to tournaments early or not, or if you like to play the European swing or the North American swing or whatever it may be, there's so many variables there that come into play with partners where you're making a decision together, and that's difficult sometimes. You butt heads and don't get along. So I think that's a big part of it. I think one of the reasons Ivan and I click well is one on the tennis aspect. I mean, Ivan's obviously one of the best returners of all time, and just an incredible career. But I think we both like to play aggressive style. We both like to come forward. We both like to move a lot at the net and play aggressive doubles. So we click in that regard. I think our mentalities of how we approach practice, and when things don't go well, we both like to work harder. And we both err on the side of doing too much always. That's always been kind of a weakness of mine. So, I think we see eye to eye in that regard. And then our teams get along as well. So it's worked out well for us that we've kind of connected in that fashion. And that's honestly a lot rarer than you would imagine. When you get into you just think, we'll be buddies and it's all good. But after a couple of years of playing, with someone, and it's your livelihood, you're trying to pay the bills and feed your family and stuff. So, those little decisions become bigger when all that stuff gets on the table, so it's difficult.
So last year, French Open final, 3 match points. And,
Yes.
Obviously, you don't get a lot of opportunities to get to a final, the Grand Slam, where the draw lines up, the matches line up. You don't get food poisoning. You don't get sick. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, it just,
Right.
so many things have to come together to go there, right? You probably were down match points in other matches, right?
Yep.
Somebody double fault or choke volley or whatever it is, right?
Yeah. 100%.
How did you recover? Or what do you think cost you those 3 match points, right? Because some of it, like, you know what, we just got too tight. It was our first time. We just got tight, right? Blew the return. Or we panic and cross to her too soon. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We need to stay. Like, what is it like to be there, Grand Slam final, and in doubles, should I go or should I stay? I'm just going to go for it, right? What was the thought process that you think cost you the match?
Yeah. I mean, that's just, and I think the longer I play, the more you realize, like you said, how scarce those opportunities are. And it doesn't come around very often. And it's so hard to play good 2 weeks and, like you said, stay healthy 2 weeks and everything go right for 2 weeks to get to that moment. And then to get there and lose with 3 championship points is it's devastating. I mean, it is really a difficult situation to handle. And I think looking back on it, though, I think we needed that. I think it's a good experience. I mean, Ivan may argue that he didn't need it because he's already had the experience a lot of times.
I needed that check. I didn't need that
yeah,
loss.
he's like, I don't need that. Yeah. But, that's for me, I think it was my first situation like that. So, it's one of those things you gotta try to look at on a positive and learn from it. If that's way easier said than done. but yeah, I still remember all the points like it was yesterday. And it's one of those things that where, yeah, you think you can move on. And obviously we were able to recover luckily this year. But yeah, I still think about those, and it's one of the cool things getting to know the Bryans, as well as we have, we were talking about that with Bob in Miami. And those guys have won more tournaments than everybody,
Yeah.
by a long shot. So to hear them talk about, man, this final in Wimbledon and in 2011, we had this shot and we didn't move on this, and he like remembers the points, just like crazy detail, and it's like, gosh, even they're thinking about that stuff. So it gives you a little bit of, okay, maybe it's not as big of a deal for me, but yeah, I remember all the points. That and one of the match points, I Ivan hit a return cross, and I moved probably a little bit early, trying to do the aggressive thing, which is usually what a lot of better doubles players try to do. And I got burned line, and I still think about that move all the time. So it's not something you forget. And luckily, a couple of days ago, it made that memory a little bit easier. But I'm still thinking about it.
So now, so how long did it take you to get over it? Was it like, man, I'm gonna go in my room and like not come out for like 3 or 4 days, right? You know what I mean? Like, how long did you get over it?
Yeah, that's always the initial thought. Of course, we were obviously in the locker room after, pretty devastated, and yeah, you just sit there for, an hour or so and just kind of think and let it all sink in. And luckily, I mean, our support staff, our team is fantastic. So, having your coach there, Philip, being there, I mean, that is everything. So, and my wife was there as well. So it was, you sit there, but at the same time, like I said, it was the best week of our career. So you got to keep that in mind as well. And Ivan, being as experienced as he was, he was great about it. And, we chatted, within an hour or so, and tried to put it behind us, but it's tough. I mean, we definitely flew home the next day as well, and had a couple of days to kind of let it sink in at home and just try to put it out of your mind. But the good thing and the bad thing about tennis is, no matter what happens last week, you've literally got another tournament next week. So
right.
In that regard, it's awesome because, hey, we got another tournament next week. And once Monday starts, that tournament's going and you're playing another match, and, you try to put it out of your mind at that point, obviously, because you're competing. So, that helps move on, is just to keep playing. And we obviously took a lot of positives from that, and had some confidence and momentum, and went to Halle last year and had a great tournament there, making semis, and then losing another devastating there's a tiebreaker in that semis. But you go on and compete, and the good and bad side of that is the bad side. When you have a great tournament, next Monday you're competing again as well, so you got to move on, and you just try to look back and take the positives from it. And I think I mentioned that earlier. I think, obviously at that moment it was brutal, but looking back on it, I think that was a lesson that I needed. And I think we got better from it ultimately, and it helped us prepare for the fall when we were able to qualify for the year-end tournament in Turin, and some of the big matches we played later in the fall in center courts and so forth, that you're just a little bit more prepared each time. And I think it also helped us going into this year, the French, and knowing what to expect going out there on Philippe Chatrier, a court like that, for the finals in a moment that's that big. You're just a little bit more prepared each time. It's one of those experiences that someone can explain to you and tell you, and this and that, but until you go through it yourself, it's really hard to kind of put that experience into words.
So you won the French Open this year. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Major milestone. You also won Monte Carlo this year. So I didn't really think that clay court really made a difference in doubles.
Right.
You're not moving as much. You're not sliding. You know what I mean? But clearly you can play doubles on clay, right? So, but there's also during a slam, everyone's slam run. If you watch the entire tournament, there's 1 or 2 matches where it almost didn't happen.
Sure, always.
Right? I can remember matches as it come, we almost lost it here, right?
Definitely.
Name a match this tournament where it was the turning point. Okay, we got through this one, and then it was but it could have went bad on this one.
Well, I wouldn't say it was a turning point because it was the first round, but we were down.
Sometimes it's that. Yeah, sometimes it's that.
Can be. But I would, I would like to say that a turning point would be, and then we started playing great and we won the next match easier, and we didn't. But yeah, we were down 3-1 a break in the third set in the first round, and we were able to find a way. We weren't playing our best tennis. That's one of the things about all sports. There's only a certain amount of days, the Paul Anacone mindset, where there's a certain amount of days where you play unbelievable, certain amount of days you play terrible, and the middle is where 90% of it is, and that's what makes, a good player or a great player. And being able to find a way when you're not feeling your best and playing your best tennis is what it's all about. So we were able to kind of dig deep and play some good points, and then we ended up playing a great third set tiebreaker. And I thought that one was a good momentum to be like, hey, we got through it. We got that tough one out of the way, because you're always, there's no Grand Slam except maybe, I'm sure the Bryans had some, but where you just kind of roll through the draw and beat everybody pretty badly. There's always going to be a tough match, 3 sets, down match points, some weird situation where you're not feeling well, the weather's bad, it's windy, whatever. And that happened first round for us this week, and then or last week, and then we had another tough match, immediately after that. And then in the third round, we were also had a brutal third set match, and then another 3-hour match in the quarters with a couple of German guys that were playing fantastic. So, that makes, they were all tough, but I think that first round this year was one that we were like, okay, we gritted through that one where we really weren't playing great, and we're able to find a way and get some momentum going into the rest of the tournament.
Yeah, I remember 2018 when Sloan won Miami. First round playing Monica Nicolescu, and like down the set in like 2 breaks, and then Nicolescu gets injured.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then like Nicolescu gets injured, and then Sloan wins Miami. You know what I mean? Then she goes on and plays 4 Grand Slam champions in a row and beats all of them, but almost lost to Nicolescu, right? So like in my mind, that's what I mean. It's like it almost didn't happen. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And sometimes it's in the first round. So congratulations. So now you're number 1 in the world, and you think about doubles players, and you all have the opportunity, like Dodig, right, to have very long careers, right? Because it's theoretically it's not as taxing on your body. Although I will say you guys practice way more than singles players. Like we always joke like, damn, they were just practicing this morning, and now they're doing it again, like for the third, like James Saratani or Nick Monroe, like 3-4 times a day. I'm like, you're like practice more than you play. You know what I mean? But you do have, and I think the doubles players love it, right? You see the guys that are grinding on doubles tour, taking half the check, right? You guys love it. But you have the opportunity to play a long time. So at 32, you look at the Bryan brothers, you still probably got 10 more years in you. Is that what the plan is?
Yeah. I think now with how everyone's doing a better job with nutrition and physical and having physios and taking care of your body better, you can play longer. No doubt about that, even on the single side, as Roger obviously proved. And Novak continues to prove with his, with his play. But, I think a lot of it now is mental burnout. From the travel, and obviously it's a very difficult situation to have a normal family style life. You're gone all the time. And so I think guys get tired of that a little bit, but yeah, I love it. I'm enjoying it. We're playing great. Physically, I feel great. So yeah, there's no reason why I can't play for several more years. There's no time limit you put on it. You just kind of try to take advantage of what's in front of you and play the best tennis you can for as long as you can. So I'm really enjoying, where we're at as a team. And I think there's a lot of upside for us, and we'll continue to keep trying to get better. I think, the goal is always to get better, and there's always, 100 things I could think of right now to tell you that I could do better. So there's always room for upside, and I'll continue to try to push the envelope there.
So tennis players are very practical spenders, right? I remember like Sam Querrey would always pull up to Carson in his Volvo truck. You know what I mean? It was like, you guys are so fast, right? But when you win a slam, sometimes you got to treat yourself. So what is the splurge, or is there a splurge that you're like, damn, I always wanted this, and now I'm just gonna go ahead and get it, right? What is the splurge that is on your mind, whether you pull the trigger yet or not, that you want to get after the win last week?
Yeah, that's tough to say. For me, honestly, I'm not too much into that kind of thing. I would say we like my coach and I, we like good bourbons, kind of rare bourbons. So there's maybe a bottle or two that we're eyeing that through one of our good buddies that we could buy a good bottle of bourbon to enjoy. But for the most part, I'm trying to focus on the grass court season, which starts literally on Friday. So I haven't had a chance to really sit down and think about that. We, it was just good to get home with the family on Sunday and celebrate with my wife and mom and dad and our 2 dogs. So I don't have anything in mind. Maybe something for them would actually make me feel better. So
when you after the grass court season, you got about a month in the state, 2 months in the States.
Maybe I'll think about it then. Yeah.
Find something to spend some money on, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, man, I appreciate your time. I want to congratulate you. It was always fun seeing you. You're always pleasant. Like I said, always practicing. You know what I mean? Like we practice once a day. You guys practice 3 times a day. You know what I mean? It was kind of like those dudes love tennis, right? And it's great to see people who love what they do get what they want out of it. You know what I mean? So congratulations, man. I want to thank you for coming on the show. Always rooting for a natural lefty. You know what I mean?
Right.
I've been a lefty. And congrats. Good luck for the grass.
Appreciate that, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate you having me.
Thank you, everybody. This has been the Tennis.com podcast with Austin Krajicek, the new 2023 French Open Grand Slam champion.